In the original trilogy of God of War, Kratos, the ghost of Sparta, is on a mission of vengeance, and even if he gets killed in the process, his anger brings him back, making him angrier than ever. He's the perfect description of local man too angry to die. Not only is he a strong warrior, but he has taken down many mythical beasts and ancient pantheons. In the newest version of God of War, Kratos takes on the Norse gods, but this time, things have changed. He's become a father, and he has a beard. His attempts to live a quiet life have been met short on a few occasions, and that unbridled rage he once has been tempered quite a bit.
Struck a nerve, did I?
Kratos is no longer screaming that he will have his vengeance upon all those who have wronged him.
Zeus! Zeus!
Instead, he's more to the point and reserved when speaking with others, only raising his voice when he needs to.
Did they? I'm sorry, that's not fair. I know you're not the god you once were. And now is your chance to prove it.
Return my son, or you may meet the god I once was.
But if you push him just enough, his godlike battle prowess comes into full swing, not just out of anger, but in order to protect the companions he made along the way in the new games.
There he is. There's the god of war.
Santa Monica Studios released a DLC called God of War Ragnarok Valhalla, where we return to face Kratos' past, but also honing in on all the skills you've used throughout the main games. They put all this new content in, and it's free. For this video, I'm playing this on Give Me No Mercy mode, with the skills I've gotten throughout the game. Major spoilers ahead, it's recommended to have beaten the first two games before playing Valhalla. With that out of the way, let's get started. After the events of Ragnarok, Kratos receives a mysterious invitation taking him to an island that he's never been to before. With the smartest man by Kratos' side, I mean smartest head, Mimir, by Kratos' side, the pair enter through the massive doors and quickly realize that something is eerily wrong. Kratos' health and rage go back to their original stats. The same goes for the rest of his skills. He's incredibly weakened and must face the enemies that come charging through the fog. After going through a similar encounter, he enters an area that he's been to before in the main games. A brief respite before entering another fight. From there, Kratos has the option to go through different doors, which give him different rewards. Some give him a weapon skill, some just give him currency, some even increase his overall stats. There are also scattered chests containing runic abilities, perks, and other rewards if you use a key to permanently unlock them. But all of this fades away if he dies during the run. And that's where the roguelike genre comes into play. Kratos has the opportunity to use the currency he got from his past attempts to better his chances in getting to the last stage in Valhalla. God of War Ragnarok is extremely addictive. Like a gambler being told they're one poker game away from hitting it big, I returned to my PS5 in the hopes of beating the DLC with no deaths. That sense of catharsis when I complete an encounter feels so invigorating that it only makes me want to start another run, but with different abilities and perks. And of course, the frustration of dying during an attempt makes me want to throw my controller across the room, but since it's $70, I decide it's best not to do that. After you complete a certain number of encounters, you're allowed to face the Chosen of Valhalla. Usually they're past bosses you faced. After that, you enter a new area that's somewhat familiar. Valhalla represents a testing ground that not only tests the player's skills, but also forces Kratos to deal with his past. And in his version of Valhalla, it's a ruined area of Greece from the original God of War games. Kratos must once again face his enemies of old in order to face the Norse God of War, Tyr. It's nice to see how we get to see Tyr in action with all the weapons he got throughout his journeys, knowing that Odin is well and dealt with. While Tyr is a difficult fight, he also acts as a teacher to better hone in on Kratos' anger and reflect on his past. After Kratos defeats Tyr multiple times, he must face his true test, himself. Kratos berates his younger self, blaming his violence and horrific actions, but Kratos begins to realize that yes, those were his own actions. he is also not the same man he once was.
You are cruel and arrogant and selfish. But you are more than that. You have always been more than what others saw. You are more than that.
Kratos is no longer this killing machine. Instead, he realizes he can be much more than that. He can be better. To know thyself is an excellent phrase that perfectly captures Kratos' character. Throughout the new games, he always had a brief, laconic tone, something that fellow Spartans also shared in the past.
How about peace? How does peace strike the esteemed, retired god of war? How about we just don't kill each other? So what do you say?
No.
To see Kratos openly express himself after the main game concludes, it gives fans hope that just because this chapter in his life is over, the story doesn't end there. Improving yourself for the better has always been a theme in the new God of War series. Like when Kratos is anxious in taking up the fiery blades of chaos once more to save his son.
A monster.
I know. But I am your monster no longer.
When Kratos lets go the bandages on his arms where the chains used to be from his blades, to Atreus taking a page out of his dad's teachings and taking the future in his own hands.
Those things. Your choices. You killed your own son.
It wasn't my choice. I had no choice.
There's always a choice. You have to stop. You can choose to be better.
And finally, that emotional moment for Kratos changing his fate in becoming a god where people love and admire him, rather than instilling fear and terror. Valhalla concludes Kratos' story in such a beautiful way, but you really gotta work for it. While Kratos continues to examine his past, the player also learns about new playstyles and different approaches in Valhalla. All of Kratos' weapons are at his disposal, from the Leviathan axe, blades of chaos, and the Draupnir spear, to the various shields. Valhalla continues to encourage players to try different playstyles on each run. Out of the 5 shields, the Shatterstar shield is probably my favorite. This shield charges up energy while Kratos is blocking, and once it's fully charged, Kratos can punch the shield and blast the energy to the enemies, leaving a really satisfying feeling that you can just take on about anything that Valhalla throws your way. Throughout each attempt, one might save up your money before you fight the first chosen and just spend it on upgrading your weapon's attacks, or you could spend it all right before you fight Tyr, feeling lucky, defensive, or trying to increase your runic damage. There are many ways to better your chances during your attempts of Valhalla, but when you're choosing one bonus, you might sacrifice something else in return. Depending on the perks you pick, you might hit your limit, so you'll need to think carefully about what's worth permanently letting go in order to replace it with a better one. Players also need to carefully choose what starting weapon perk they want because they might affect what you'll need for a superior resurrection stone or other bonuses. There are also fun challenges that are in Valhalla which gives the player some great rewards. For example, for 5 encounters the stagger damage is greatly reduced on enemies, but you'll be given a buff for greater stagger damage to enemies. Or every time you roll, poison is applied, but you'll get increased elemental damage after surviving the challenge. Another challenge is when you're facing the original God of War enemies. They'll hit you with a move that has a countdown, and if you don't hit them with the right elemental attack before it runs out, you'll lose rage. A fun callback to the original series is wielding the Blade of Olympus. This god-killing weapon is back in Kratos' hand, and he's ready to deal some punishment with it. The Greek areas are really fun to see, especially when you go on the boat where you fought the Hydra, or when you go to the Desert of Lost Souls in the first God of War game. Before you challenge Tyr, you need to defeat a certain number of Chosen through realm tears all throughout the ruins of Greece. Depending on what's in the realm tears, the rewards can vary. There is one small catch. There is a clock that counts down, and once it reaches a new tier, the enemy's difficulty increases. The longer you stay in the ruins of Greece, the harder the enemies will be, but rewards will be far greater than what you see in the starting areas. There are also chests throughout the area that have greater rewards, but you need to clear some encounters before opening them. Seeing some of the original enemies again makes me hopeful that this DLC was a test for a potential remake on the new God of War engine. It'd be awesome to see all the fights we know from the original trilogy remade for the new gaming generation. Did I forget to mention that all of this bonus content is free?
There it is. Magnum. Holy moly. Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for! Dear God, it's beautiful.
The fact Santa Monica Studios went above and beyond for its fans is a true testament of what gaming companies should strive for, instead of releasing unfinished games.
My speech was actually longer than this year's Call of Duty campaign. What?
In the end, God of War Ragnarok is a perfect farewell to fans both old and new alike, getting the chance to explore more of Kratos' past and testing yourself with challenging fights. We also learned how to say goodbye to such an iconic character that fans have loved since 2005, and new fans learning to love him since 2018. If this isn't the end for our old friend, then hopefully it's more of a see you around.
What now?
Now, I believe I would like to sit here for a while.
Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.